Hello everyone, welcome back. So in the previous video we worked on our home section, and in this video we're gonna work on pagination and then creating the likes. So now I want to work on pagination, and the idea is if we scroll down it will fetch more posts, but we will need to create some test posts so that we have enough posts to test the pagination. So let's create these test posts. Okay, so let's not create all the posts from this account. Let's create another account and then add some posts from this new account. So let me just create a new account. Okay, so the account is created. Now let me just quickly update his profile data and add a phone number, a location, and a bio. And then hit update. Let's also add a profile picture. Let's choose this one and then hit update. Okay, so the profile is updated. Now let's create a new post from this new account. Let's choose an image. Let's choose this one and then hit post. So there we can see the new post, and I think we have enough posts to test the pagination. So here we have a limit variable which is by default 0, and this increases by value 10 every time we call this function. And we are passing this to fetch post function, and we are limiting the amount of posts that we are getting. So now we want to create a function that will trigger every time we hit the bottom of this list, and we can use a property on and reached, and this will give us a callback, and this will trigger every time we hit the bottom of this flat list. So let's just console log a message got to the end, and let's save this, and let's just open the terminal and see what happens if we go to the bottom. So let me just refresh, and now if I scroll down we should see a message in the console. So there we can see got to the end, and it will happen every time we scroll to the bottom. We can also add a threshold in pixels. So if I add 0, that will mean it will trigger the function exactly when we hit the bottom. So now in this callback, I want to use the get post function, and this will trigger every time we hit the bottom of this flat list. And inside this function, we are basically increasing the limit and then passing it to fetch post. Let's just reduce the limit to 4 because we don't have a lot of posts. So let's see how this works. So by default, we are seeing a 4 latest post, and as I scroll down, the get post function gets called, and now we have more posts from the database. Um, Actually, we shouldn't see this many posts. It should have fetched only the 8 or 12 posts. So for some reason, I think it's calling this function multiple times. So let me just refresh the app. And now we should see only the 4 posts. And as I scroll down, it should update the limit to 8, but it's updating to 12. So I think I know why this is happening. So if I show you the initial logs, it should have called this function 2 times. There we can see two console logs. So basically what happened is when we have an empty flat list, this on and reach function gets triggered. So now we no longer need to call this function inside the use effect. So now let's comment this out and see if this is working. Okay, so let's scroll to the bottom, and by default we are seeing 4 latest posts. And now if I scroll down, it will call this function and increase the limit by 8. So if I scroll down, there we can see fetching 8 posts in the console, and as I scroll down it will increase the limit by 4. So now we can see fetching 12 posts. So our pagination is working, but there is still some issues. So as I scroll down and fetch all the posts from the database, it will still call this function, and trigger every time we hit the bottom, as you can see. So we need to stop calling this API when we have all the posts from the database, and for that we need to use a state has more, and by default this will be true, and until this is true we will keep calling this API. So let's use this, and I want to make it false when we get all the posts. So here in this condition, we want to make another condition as post.length equals to the post that we are fetching from the database. And if this equals, that means there is no new post coming. So we can set has more property as false. And once this is false, we can add a condition here at the top. If has more property is false, then we will just return null, and we won't call this API. So let's just save this. And at the bottom, I want to show a message when we have fetched all the posts. So let's add a condition. If has more is true, then we'll show the loading. And if this is false, then we will show a message. So let's add a view and give this a style of margin vertical as 30 pixels. And inside this, let's add a text component and give this a style of no posts. Then it will say no more posts, and let's save this. So if I show you the styles for this, we have a font size, align into the center, and the color from our theme object. So now let's see if this is working. So as I scroll down, we see the loading and it has fetched more posts. Let's scroll more, and now we see more posts. And when we have fetched all the posts, it will say a message no more post. Now if I hit the bottom again and again, it won't call the API, it will just show a message got to the end. So this is working perfectly fine. So now let's see our document. So we have implemented a real-time data fetching, post pagination. Now I want to work on like post. So when we hit this heart icon, this will like the post. So let's go into our post card. Here we have our postcard, and here if we click on this icon, this is the heart icon. I want to add a function on like. So let's add an on press method here, and this will trigger on like function. And let's create this function here. This will be an async function, and we're gonna call another API call inside this. So let's create another function into our post service. Let's just copy this function and rename this to create post like, and this will receive an object with the post like data. So let's just remove this code. Let's keep the error, and let's change this to post like error, and this will say could not like the post. So now I want to insert a row inside post likes table, and we will get a response as data and an error. Then let's use our Subabase client, and from the post likes table we want to insert this object as post like, and then we want to also select the data that we insert into the table, and this will give us an array, but I want to use only the single object. So let's use a single, and this will return the data that is created. So if we have an error, this will return the error, but otherwise it will return the success response. Now let's just copy this, and we're gonna use another function remove post like, and this will receive a post ID and the user ID like this. Now when we remove the data, we will only get an error. So let's just remove this data, and we want to use the delete function, which will delete the data from this table based on some conditions. So to add the conditions, we're gonna use an EQ function, which will basically check if the user ID equals to the user ID that we're passing to this function, and same for the post ID like this. So if we don't get any error, that means data is removed. But if we do get any error, we just return a response as could not remove the post like. Now let's use this function inside the post card component, and first we need to create the data, and this will include the user ID which we have on the current user. So current user dot id, then the post id will be item dot id. Now let's call this function that we created, and this will give us a response, create post like, and pass this data. And once we get the response, we'll just console log and see if it successfully created the like. And I also want to show the user if the like is not created. So if result.success is false, then we want to show an alert. The title will be post and the message will say something went wrong. Okay, so now let's save this and open the console and see if this is working. So now if I click on this heart icon, we see a response as the success is true. So it must have created the data in the Supabase. So let's see. Let's go to table editor and go into post likes. So there we can see our first post like. We have the post ID here and we have the user ID. So now that we have this data, we can include this while fetching the post data, and we want to show the post likes here on the post card. Currently, we don't see the new like here. So let's just refresh. So because we have a foreign key relationship with the post and the post likes, we can include this table in while fetching the post, and it will include the post likes for each post. So just like the users table, we can specify the post likes table and the data that we want to fetch. And I want to fetch all the data. So let's specify static and let's save this. Now let's console log the post item and see if we're getting the post likes array. So let's console log the data here, post item, and let's save this. So we don't see the post likes. So let's just refresh the app and see if we get this array. Fetch post error, unexpected end of the input. What did we do wrong? So let's go into our function, fetch posts. Everything looks all right. So let's just refresh the app and check again. Still the same error. Maybe we need to remove this comma at the end. So let's save this and see. Okay, so now we're getting the data. So it was a comma. Make sure you don't add this comma at the end. So now we're getting the post likes array. So let's go into the post card and let's just remove this console log. Now I want to set this post likes array into a likes state. So let's do this inside a use effect hook. Let's add an empty dependency array and I want to set likes. Let's just create this state here, likes and set likes. By default this will be an empty array, and we will set the likes from the post item. So inside this use effect hook, let's use a set likes and the item dot post likes. And this state is showing red lines because we have another likes constant. So let's just remove this. And for this liked boolean here, I want to filter all the likes and see if there is any like by the current user. So let's filter the likes, and for each like we will check if the like.user id equals the current user id. That means this user liked this post, and we will check if we have any first item. Based on this, we will return true or false like this, and let's save this. So as I save this, you can see it's showing this post is like and the count is 1. And that's because we already use these values on this heart icon. So here you can see the likes dot length. But there is one more issue. So if I like any other post, so in the console, you can see the like is created, but it's not updated in the post card, and we need to update this likes array. So before we call this API, let's set the likes here. And first we need to spread all the previous likes and then this new data here. So this will update the likes array and show our latest like. So let's just refresh. So now if I try to like a post, it instantly updates the post likes and we see this on the postcard. But if I click on it again, it will again create a post like and update the count, but this shouldn't happen. It should remove the post like. So here we need to make a condition. If user has already liked the post, then we will remove the post like. So let's add a condition. If liked is true, then remove the like, otherwise create the new like. So let's add this code here, and we're gonna use the same code for remove like as well, but let's just remove this data. And here first we need to update the previous likes. So let's filter all the likes and remove the likes where the user id is the current user id. So this will give us all the likes where the user id is not equal to the current user dot id. And we need to update this into the likes state, so we no longer need to add this data. So we just need to spread all the updated likes here like this. And instead of calling the create post like, we need to call a remove post like. And here let's see all the parameters. So first we need to pass the post ID, and we have item.id. Then for the user, let's use current user.id. And this will give us a response. And if there is any error, we will just show the error. So for the console log message, this will say removed like. And for this one, it will say added like this. And let's save this. So let's just refresh the app and see if this is working. And let's click on this post. And we got an error. Something went wrong. Could not remove the post like, data doesn't exist. So yeah, we're not using the data inside this function. So let's just remove this property, and this will return success true when the data is removed. But it must have removed the data from the database. So let's just refresh and check again. And yes, the likes are removed. Now if I remove the like from this post, this will remove the like. And if I click on it again, this will create the like. So I can click on this as many times as I want, and this will work perfectly fine. So currently this post is liked, and if I refresh the app, we should see our like here. So this is working fine. So now I want to work on this share icon. So if we click on this, it should share the image or the post content. So let's go to this icon. And here we have the share icon. So let's add an on press function, and this will trigger on share function. So let's create this new function here. This will be an async function because later we're gonna add an API to download the files from the post, and we're gonna use the same library that we used before, expo file system. Here is the library, but for now we want to implement only share the content. So let's create the content, and we will have a message as item.body. And then we can use the share functionality from React Native. Then using the share function, we can provide this content. And let's save this. Now if I click on the share icon, we see the share model, but I don't want to share the HTML content. I only want to share the text. So let me just paste a function here. So this function uses regex to remove the tags from a string. So you can just copy this from here. Now let's use this on item body. And this will remove all the tags and all the styling from the content and give us only the raw text. And that is what we need. So let's save this. And now if I share this content, we only see the text. We don't see HTML tags now. So I can share this one, and we only see the content without the tags. Now let me find a post with some styling. So here we have a new text as bold, but if I share this, we won't see any style. We will see only the text. But if I share a post with media, we won't see anything because we're only sharing the item body. We're not sharing the item file. So first we will have to make a check if we have a file on this post. Then we will download the file and then share the URI for that file. We can only share the local file URI because I've tried with the remote files and it doesn't work. So let's go into our image service, and here we need to create a function download file. This will also be an async function and it will receive the URL for the remote file. So let's add a try catch block. And if we get any error while downloading the file, we'll just return null. So now we're gonna use the file system library and we're gonna download the file and it will give us a response with a URI. And the function that we're gonna call is download async, and it requires the URI for the remote file and then the local file path where we want to store this file. So for this one, let's just create a function get local file path, and we will pass the URL here. So now let's create this function, and this will receive the file path. Now we also need to get the file name from this path, so let's create a variable. And the way we can get the file name is we need to split this URI by slash, and this will return an array with all the paths, and the final path will be the file name, so we can use the pop function, and then we will have the file name. So now we need to return the full URI, so we can use the file system dot document directory and then the file name. So this is where the file will be downloaded, and then we can use this to share the file. So let's use this function here and then return the URI like this. Now let's use this function here to download the file. So if we have item.file, then we will get the URI using this download file function. And here we need to use the function get superbase file URL because we need to pass the full remote URL of this file. And this function basically returns an object with the URI, and we don't need the whole object, we just need the URI property. So let's just use dot URI on this function. Now this will get us the full remote path and then download the file. Now we need to set the content.uri property as this local URI from our system. Then if we share this content, this will hopefully show this media. So let's just click on share. Hopefully it's downloading the file and we don't see anything. Um, did we do something wrong? Oh, okay. So this needs to be URL. So let's just change this to URL as well. And this one too. Okay, so let's save this and now let's try again. Okay, so now we can see it's actually sharing the image. So we can copy this, save this, or if we have other apps, we can share it to them. So now I want to show a loading state on this icon because when we share the media, it takes some time to download the files. So let's add a loading state, and by default, this will be false. And we need to make it true when we download the file inside this condition, and then make it false after we get the local file URL. So using this inside our icon here, we need to make a condition. If the loading is true, then we need to show the loading component. So let's import the loading component and size will be small. Let's close this, and if the loading is false, we can just show this share icon like this. And let's save this and see if this works. So now if I share this image, we see the loading until the file is downloaded, and then we see the share model to share this media. So let's test this on this file. If I click on share, we see the loading, the file is downloading, and then we can share this file. So with this, we are able to share the text content and the media files. Then we can like or dislike any post. Next, we're gonna work on creating and showing these comments. But before that, let's go into our document. And next, we are gonna work on our post details model. So here are all the steps. So let's just create a mockup for this model. This will be our post details model screen. And first this will show all the post details, and we're gonna use the post card that we used in the home screen for showing the post details. So let's just copy this, and let's just use it here on the top. So first it will show the post details, and then at the bottom we can add the comment list. So before the comment list, we want to add an input box here, and this is where user can add the new comment, and we will have this icon here, which if user press on this will create a new comment and update the comment list. Then after this, we will have a list of the comments, and let's just create a code for each list item. And on the top, we will have the user info who created this comment, and we will have the user avatar and then the username. So let's just copy this from here. Then after this, we want to show the comment body. So let's add the comment body and then place it after the user info. So this will be for each comment item. Now let's add it here after the create comment UI, and let's add two more items like this. So now you get the idea of how the post details model will look like. This will be a model, not a full screen. Later, we will use this model to delete or update the post as well. So we can open this model in two ways. Let's go to our post card here. So if we click on the comment icon or this three dots icon, this will open the post details model. So now let's create this new model into our main folder, post details, and let's create a functional component, post details, and let's save this. So now we need to open this model when we click on the comment icon. So let's go into the post card. This is the icons folder. Let's search for the post card here. And now if we click on the comment icon, let's add an on press function here. And this will trigger open post details function. And we also need to do this for the three dots icon. So we already did that. So let's go into this function, and here we need to use the router to move to this new screen. And here in the props, you can see we already receiving the router from the parent component. So let's use router dot push, and here we need to define a path name as this new component that we created, so post details. Then we need to pass some parameters, as the post id will be item.id, and we can use this post id on this next screen to get the post details. So now if I click on this icon, we move to this new screen, but you can see this is not a model, this is a full screen. So let's go into the layout file, and here we need to define a new screen. So let's use stack.screen component. Then here we need to name it as post details and then provide some options. Here we need to specify the property presentation as model. So it will open as a model now. Let's close it and save this. So now route named as post details. And this is actually true because this is inside the main group. So we need to specify the main group as well in the name of this screen. So now we don't see the warning. And if we click on this, now this opens as a model, not a full screen. So now we need to get the post ID inside this model that we passed from the previous component, and we can use a hook called a use local search params. This will give us an object with all the parameters, and we can extract the post ID and console log this ID here. So got the post ID. Let's save this and open our terminal to see it in the console. So now if I open this model, we see a message got the post ID as 12. Also, if you notice, these IDs are in an order. So for this one, it will be 12, and for the next one, it will be 11. And that's because Superbase uses an integer for the primary key and then increases it every time we create a new record. And if you have used MySQL or Postgres before, then you already know about this. So this is it for this video, and in the next video, we'll work on the post details model. So see you in the next one.